Welcome back to Agri-Talk and the Free for All. We're going to bring in Jim and Sean here real quick. Jim Wiesmeyer, policy analyst. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Chip.
All right, Sean Haney, Real Agriculture, Real Ag Radio. How you doing, Haney?
I'm doing fantastic. Good morning, everybody.
Fantastic. Now, let's bring in U.S. Senator Jerry Moran from Kansas. Senator Moran, welcome back to Agri-Talk. It's great to talk with you again.
Chip, you're so nice. I'm glad to be with you, but I'm a little bit nervous about anything called a free-for-all. Well, I'm unaccustomed to those kind of circumstances in my current job.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't know about that. There's a lot happening in the Senate right now, and a lot happening in D.C. in general. The USDA reorganization that was announced yesterday, boy, that seems like a big effort that USDA is taking on. What's your take?
Well, I've always thought a good idea to have more federal employees working across the country, and particularly when it comes to agriculture. I mean, the state of Kansas has generally moved its Kansas Department of Agriculture out of Topeka, our state capital, and moved it to Manhattan, home of the, Kansas State University, and a lot of ag programs, and it seems like it's really worked well here. And the federal government should be assisting communities across the country in providing the benefits that come from having a workforce paid for by the taxpayers in their neighborhood. And the idea of bringing farm programs closer to the clientele that the Department of Agriculture serves, that appeals to me. I think we have a lot to learn about this decision and its details. And there, I think, has been commitments that, or at least seemingly, were not kept, that the Ag Committee, of which I'm a member, would be consulted, have information. And I think that in most instances, this occurred as a surprise, at least the date and timing and the nature of what was announced, not known by most of us or any of us in the United States Senate.
My goodness. Yeah. Do you think that there will be some hearings on this?
Absolutely. At least, I talked to Senator Bozeman yesterday as we discussed this topic, and he has indicated that he hopes to have hearings in the Senate Ag Committee very quickly. And both he and Senator Klobuchar have announced their desire for those hearings. So the ranking member, the Democratic lead in the Senate Ag Committee, and the chairman are already on the path of trying to schedule that effort.
Yeah, ranking member Klobuchar had some pretty pointed comments about it, and just doesn't sound like she's really much in favor of it. She's scared of the brain drain. Well, there's some good people outside of Washington, D.C. too, isn't there?
Well, we've had a bit of this in Kansas, at least in Kansas City, in the last Trump administration, and I was very involved and supportive of the effort of moving ERS and NIFA employees to Kansas City, and that occurred. We have a lot in the region of Iowa, Nebraska, Missouri, and Kansas. We've got a lot of ag education, a lot of land grant colleges, and a lot of people who grew up on farms and ranches, and in some instances would love to work in agriculture, even though they may not have a farm or ranch to return home to. And again, it's one of the reasons we fight to keep FSA and NRCS offices in counties across Kansas. Is that's a good income and a good job for lots of folks in small towns, and it helps the farm family who often needs a second income and yet still work in agriculture. So the more we can create opportunities for agriculture and their families to have jobs, and have jobs occupied by people who know, love, and care about farmers and ranchers, so much that's so good. Incidentally, when you talk about brain drain, I learned after the fact, while Secretary Vilsack, who then became the secretary in the Biden administration after the Trump administration was no longer in office, he indicated that he continued to support the move of NIFA and ERS to Kansas City and didn't stop it. But I also know that the Biden administration let lots of people work remotely. And I don't know exactly what the facts are, but it turns out, I guess, that a lot of people worked, quote, in Kansas City, but they worked remotely from wherever they were living before the transfer. And I know my conversations with USDA nominees as they've come through the office, we've had this conversation. And if you're going to work for farmers and ranchers in Kansas City, we want you in Kansas City working for farmers and ranchers there.
Yeah, gotcha.
In person.
Jim?
Yeah, I mean, this is a total redo of, USDA in Washington, and USDA cited the reorganization plan of 1953, by the way, and the USDA Reorganization Act of 94 as their authority to make the move.
Okay.
You have to recall that once they move them, it's hard to get them back. So they can have all the hearings they want, but I think they're going to move very fast.
Yeah. Interesting.
That sounds common sense to me.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, let's talk about the amendment that you've got on the rescission package, Senator Moran. What exactly it needs to clarify some of the USAID rescissions. What's going on?
So we have voted in the Senate as the House has, to rescind money, meaning that you appropriated money in the past, it hasn't been spent, and the ability to spend it is being taken away. And there were two components to that. The one that we're talking about here was the State Department funding for foreign aid programs. And while the programs that I cared the most about and pay the most attention to are not part of the State Department's appropriation, they are part of the Department of Agriculture's appropriation. That's Food for Peace, and what in Kansas at least we call Dole McGovern. In some places it's known as McGovern-Dole feeding program for children. And these are the programs that allow the purchase of commodities from American producers that then are put on ships and taken to places in the world where people are starving. The Dole McGovern program is about school-age children, and the Food for Peace is the much more traditional, where you see the USAID bags of food being delivered to Hungary around the globe. I chair the Senate Hunger Caucus. We paid a lot of attention to this. It's certainly an American issue, but Kansas has a lot of history here. There was a farmer in the northeast corner of Kansas that went to a Farm Bureau meeting years ago and said, what are we doing with all this commodities that are piled up when people are starving? It became the Food for Peace program. Senator Dole was a leader in the Senate in that with Senator McGovern. And Dwight Eisenhower signed the law originally, put it into place. So there's Kansas connections here. But this is another way when we have so many commodities, low prices, high input costs, that we have an opportunity for commodities to be sold. And I always tell farmers and ranchers, and I believe this sincerely, they're in a noble profession of feeding the world. And this is one way that we demonstrate it. This amendment, which was not opposed by the administration, just made clear that any money that was being rescinded from the State Department was not money that prohibited or eliminated the opportunity for this food at USDA, these commodities, to be shipped, administered, to keep the programs going.
Gotcha. Very good. A lot of heavy lifting for the Farm Bill was done in the reconciliation package. What does that do to the future of the Farm Bill process?
Well, it's sad. I mean, I used to be able to say, particularly in my House days, that the House Agriculture Committee and at the time the Senate Agriculture Committee were the last pieces of evidence of bipartisan capabilities of doing work, and that we were there. Sometimes we had our arguments with geography and commodity-specific kinds of programs, but we all pulled together to make sure. And it's become more difficult. It's often been political or divisions over SNAP, the program that utilizes the opportunity to feed people in this country, and conservation. And in the Biden administration, the Democrats did reconciliation, and they took what was normally a significant part of the Farm Bill, conservation programs, and used that opportunity of reconciliation. The importance there is you can do something with 51 votes, not 60. Yep. And they used that opportunity to do green kinds of things with conservation programs in agriculture. And so now Republicans have used reconciliation in this way to deal with a farm bill. And it does demonstrate the more and more circumstances in which there's a partisan or political divide in getting things done. But fortunately, reconciliation took care of the issues of Title I in the Farm Bill, and we were
Right.
successful in raising reference prices and therefore increasing the safety net for farmers, which is important as they try to borrow money from their bankers, the certainty that is there.
Yep, that is absolutely the case. Senator, we certainly appreciate you making time for Agri-Talk here this morning. Thank you. Travel safe, and hope to talk with you again soon.
All right. Appreciate the opportunity.
You bet. That is U.S. Senator Jerry Moran from Kansas. Okay, we're going to get a little bit more of the free-for-all going. We've got to stay on the USDA reorganization, and we got a lot of trade issues to talk about today. We'll do that next here on Agri-Talk.